addiction did not actually start until I was about 17 years old. I come from a pretty normal, if we can say normal, family. Dad, businessman, worked way too much, so we called him a workaholic. 2 older brothers who were protective. Me, I went to private Christian school. I wore those pull-up socks, the knee-high, and I had plaid skirts, and I rode horses, and I took private piano lessons, and my life was this nice, structured little box, and I felt loved, and I felt cared for, and I knew that if my dad would just come home, if my dad would just come home, then maybe I would be worth something. If my mom would just stop trying to fill the void and allow me to feel discomfort and pain and rejection, I could grow up. So in this pretty little box, you see this little girl who feels completely invisible and not good enough. Then this girl goes through something really, really scary. It scares her body. It violates her body. And then she realizes that she needs to protect her body. She found dance. I was 12 years old, and I was in a very charismatic church with the flags and the dancing and the hallelujah. And they had this, and it was so fun. Church was so fun. And it was the most beautiful worship dancers, and they had color and movement. And I saw that movement, and it was like a magnet. I'm like, I want that. I want that, whatever that is, that freedom, the breath. I wanted that. Because what I didn't know was that when I was hurt, when my body was hurt, it was trapped. So I fell in love with ballet. Loved ballet. Step up to the bar. Oh, hello. Nice to see you again. I've been doing this my whole life. It just came to me like, oh, this is how I brush my teeth. And I do Pilates. And people are like, how did you? I'm like, yep, I just copied what she did. And I progressed year after year until I found myself moving away at 14 years old and studying pre-professional classical ballet. And being told, you're gonna be a star. You just keep pushing, you just keep being dedicated, you just keep sacrificing. And I said, you all don't understand. My dad's in the front row with proud smiles and bouquets. Man, my dad's showing up in my life. He drives down and paints my room. He takes me out to dinner. I'm worth something. I'm not invisible anymore. But ballet is so physically demanding. It's so stressful on our body. But I was willing to sacrifice my body because my body wasn't worth anything to me. So I did the 8-hour rehearsals, and Amy shows up when she's sick, and Amy pushes, and Amy goes to the extra level. Why is Amy doing that? Did anybody ever ask that question? No. Just praise and perfection. The P word. We met when I was very young. And I decided, if this is perfect, then I'm going to stay this way. My body had a different plan in mind. After Swan Lake, everybody knows. Swan Lake, does everybody picture it? Of course you do. So Swan Lake, understudy, danced all her parts, danced all my parts, woke up the next morning and I couldn't move. I physically was in so much pain. They sent me to the best orthopedic doctor they could find in Washington, D.C. Petra Spasman from the Royal Ballet said, you go fix my dancer or you give her back, Just get her there and get her back because she's my star and I need her to be my star. Not, is Amy okay? I walked in that doctor's office, actually I got into the doctor's office, and I was looking at one of those x-ray window things where you could see the light going through your body, and I see these shadows, and I'm like, inside, I can see my failure. And when I heard the words degenerative disc disease, arthritis, 3 herniated discs, what do you mean? What are those words? I don't understand. But I did understand when he said, I'm sorry, but you're never going to dance again. And in that moment, I lost my identity. I lost the love that I had for my career, my passion, my craft. I moved back home under my parents' roof. My dad went back to work. I had to go back to a new high school halfway through the year. You know how bad that is, to be the new kid. And everybody has their routine and cliques who they sit with and how they even walk into the school. So everything was new to me. Everything had changed. But deep down inside, there was a little girl who lost her protector. Her body needed to be safe somehow. Because she didn't have dance to bury the pain. She didn't have the stage to be on, to be separate from real people. So there was this voice that said, you know, if you could just stay thin, if you could just keep your dancer body, you could stay happy. You could keep all that good stuff in your life, and dad's acceptance and your friends, and feeling like you're worth something. Just hang on to that body, Amy, if you stay a dancer with a dancer's body. I promise. I remember it saying, I promise you will never feel this way again. And it was right. I never felt that way again. I felt a totally different kind. By the age of 19, the depression, the anxiety, and when I say depression, anxiety, I didn't know that's what it was inside my mind. It was a monster. There was a monster inside my mind, and the monster hated me, and the monster wanted me to die. The monster told me that I wasn't worth anything, but nothing's ever going to change. No one loves you. You might as well just end it. That's how my illness started speaking to me, and I thought, man, there's something wrong with me, because when my first boyfriend broke up with me, I was 17, and all my other friends were just going out and finding new boyfriends. Right? And here I am with a bottle of pills. I'm like, I can't do this, Mom. I can't do this. Any kind of intense emotion, boom, like off like fireworks. My brain. What is wrong with me? Why can't I be like everybody else? Right? Like said every teenager in the whole world that's ever lived. Why can't I be just like everybody else? And my mom's like, well, honey, because you're not like everybody else. You're different. Thanks, Mom. I don't know how to take that. Oh, but you're special. Special? Yeah, don't you want to be special? No. I want to be normal. I want to blend in, you know? I want to be invisible. So if I can stay thin, I can stay invisible. My first panic attack brought me to my knees. I'm 21 years old and I'm in my condo, and I had never experienced an attack when my body was actually trying to escape itself in the darkness and saying, this is it, it's over, you're dying. And my brother found me in the hallway, and he called the hotline, and they said, you need help, Amy. We know you need help. We can't help you. You need help. We love you. So they put me in my first psychiatric hospital when I was 19. Of course they misdiagnosed me the first time around. That's okay, because all my symptoms weren't making a lot of sense at the time. They diagnosed me with obsessive compulsive disorder. Can you believe that? Obsessive? I have no idea what they're talking about. I mean, so I was, had everything had to be perfect. They didn't really connect the dots with the bipolar 2 disorder. Maybe it just hadn't happened long enough, and they definitely didn't pick up on the eating disorder. Even when my mom, dropping me off at the hospital, was like, oh, hey, yeah, make sure she eats. She tends to be anorexic. Mom, stop talking. You're going to give me a in trouble. Shit. Let me go get well. Go. And I spend a week, and they discharged me with a bottle of pills and a treatment plan. And so I did this thing called recovery for a couple of years, but that demon was still inside me, and that voice was still tearing me apart. You're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough. Every morning I woke up, every second of the day, self-loathing ran through my veins. I literally cannot explain it any other way. And I was journaling about it, and I was saying, this thing's gonna kill me, I'm so scared, but I don't know what to do, I don't know how to stop this thing. By the age of 24, my body took things into its own hands. I was at work, I was doing the really smart diet pill abuse with caffeine and cigarettes. I don't recommend it. It's a lethal combination. And because that's the only thing I was allowed to eat, because that was the rule. And my body decided, no more. I collapsed at work. They rushed me to the emergency room. They hooked me up to patches, because they always wanted to test my heart first. I never understood why. And they said, young lady, you're 24 years old and you almost had a heart attack. You need to either stop what you're doing and live, or keep going and die. I have to make sure I had that right. Or keep going. And I'm thinking, those are my two choices? Like, that's the only two? Isn't there the one in the middle, where I live? The dead on the inside, with a heartbeat? Like that half alive thing? I could do that. I've done it for years, but they wouldn't let me. And I was mad, because they were taking my choices away from me. The eating disorder was really mad too. But something inside of me had enough hope and enough stubbornness, like, you know what? You're right, I'm gonna kick its butt. So I went into eating disorder treatment. I spent 3 months talking about everything, and drawing about everything, and all of this pain came out. They actually diagnosed me with bipolar 2 disorder, and I'm like, yes, it's not me. It's a disease. It's a disease in my brain that isn't me, and it's not my identity, and I can live a freaking awesome life with it in my brain, because nothing's gonna stop me from being happy. I realized in treatment that there is life outside of your illness. And I saw like a little shiver of light. I was like, oh, it looks really good over there. I think I might, okay, I'll take another step. And I started taking the medicine. And the bipolar, I was actually able to understand how my brain worked, which was brilliant. I just thought, oh my God, you're so baby. I'm like, honey, you have no idea. No clue. Get in my brain for 24 hours and you'll run. But something was missing. I relapsed for 10 years after that. After this big surrender, I was supposed to be better. I discharged and I was supposed to be better. I was supposed to be better, right? I got done my treatment, I did my work, and it wasn't going away. There was something that wasn't finished. In 2010, I went into Remuda in 2001, so we're talking fast forward to 2010. I have a 3-year-old little girl, a husband, a career in crisis shelter, like domestic violence work. Like work around trauma much. Here I am just throwing myself in the middle of trauma every day. And the darkness is coming and it's building. And ever since having my baby, they couldn't figure out my brain chemistry. They couldn't figure out this postpartum bipolar depression psychosis mama thing. And I'm like, look guys, I want to die every single day. My goal right now is to go 1 day without thinking of suicide. And you need to stop using me as a guinea pig, because I want my memory back. And I want my eyes to stop rolling in the back of their head. I want my life back. I didn't go into treatment to live halfway. They promised me that I could have all of it, and I'm gonna have all of it, damn it. But their minds are strong. Our minds are so strong. And one afternoon, I'm standing in my condo, and I keep pacing back and forth. going in front of my refrigerator, and if you are eating sort of treatment provider, you know exactly what I was doing. So I keep going back and forth to my fridge, and for the 5th time, I finally look up, and there's a hotline magnet. I did not put that hotline magnet there. Someone put a hotline magnet there. The hotline magnet Barry came in the middle of the night. Just like, that'll get her. And a voice inside my head said, call. Something said, pick up the phone and call. And I called this hotline. Never called a hotline before because I didn't need hotlines. I wasn't that sick, right? Hotlines are for people who have real problems, right? Sure. This guy answers the phone. Just hearing his voice was like the only connection to reality. And somehow he talked me into not doing anything to hurt myself. He said, promise me you're not gonna hurt yourself, promise me you're gonna stay on the phone with me. And I'm like, okay. I did everything he told me to do. And then he promised me, he told me, promised him to go get help, to go somewhere safe, and I did. I was desperate for somebody to remind me that I had the will to live. He didn't save my life. Nobody had that power but me. He reminded me that I did have the will to live, and there is something past that. I went and I got help. The self-harm was just a piece of the journey. That coping behavior that I would try to use to soothe myself, it wasn't my illness, but it was something that I used to cope through it. For example, I was watching Letterman one night, and the whole top 10, I'm 2 or 3 days out of the psych hospital, so I'm still a little numb, but not really in a good place. My muscles were feeling very sore, and so I decided to massage my leg. And when you give a massage, you actually feel, oh, that feels so good, keep going. You're like, oh, this is a really nice, happy feeling. So I keep rubbing the side of my leg and rubbing it, and just kept feeling better and better. And then there was a voice inside my head that said, if you push a little harder, it'll feel even better. So I started pushing a little harder. And it said, if you got something to use to push on it, you'd feel even better. And so I did. And I felt better. Letterman was over, went to bed, woke up the next morning with my husband leaning over me going, what the heck is that? I had dug a hole in the side of my leg. I don't know if I was doing it to feel something on the outside because I was numb on the inside, or maybe there was a lot of pain on the inside and I wanted to match the outside. You often hear that with people who battle self-harm. But that coping, and I knew and I still know that if self-harm urges come to the surface, it's because of emotional pain. So as soon as I chose, I went back in the hospital again, just like the hotline guide said, and I had to go all the way back. My therapist, I would go to her. They gave me a therapist. They said, Amy, you've got to, hit this head on. If you're gonna live, this is the choice you're gonna have to make. Because I'm like, okay, if I'm not gonna take my own life, then there's some rules that I'm gonna live by. And the rules were, love hard, have no fear, and don't half-ass anything. My therapist challenged me to really take a look at the grief and the loss that was trapped inside this box that I had of all my dance supplies. And when I opened that box, it was almost this visceral, physical reaction. I smelled the smells of the old dance school. I felt my old point shoes on my fingertips. I could experience all those things because of all that loss I had buried down in there. But what I didn't know at the time, which I only found out a couple months ago, is there is something else trapped. The little girl was trapped inside me, not the box. So this whole time, this whole journey, I thought, oh my gosh, I lost dance. It was because of the thing that happened to me before. I didn't go back far enough. the girl who wasn't safe. Grieving that and doing EMDR, and it is the scariest thing I have literally ever done. But when you promise yourself that you're going to live, and you're going to live to the fullest, then you do whatever it takes to make that happen. Because I finally realized, you guys, that the thing that I want out of life, that freedom that I want out of life, is on the other side of that pain. And I'm going to go through that pain because I deserve it. And if you've ever been there, you deserve it too. You don't have to live half alive, half dead. Your journey might not be at all like mine. It might just be like, well, I can relate to depression, or I can relate to family dysfunction. Amy was divorced, or I lost a loved one, or Amy, I have had an addiction my entire life and I have felt frozen, or I have felt trapped. I am literally standing here in front of you telling you that you don't have to stay there. You do not have to stay